crisis faster, end quote. Let me repeat that, Mr. President. They repeatedly rebuffed recommendations to ease the border crisis. Well, Mr. President, I'm glad that the New York Times is finally reporting what we've known for a long time, and that is that the Biden administration was completely uninterested in solving the border crisis. Fortunately, those days are over. When President Trump and Republicans took control this year, we moved to quickly restore order at the southern border. And the numbers speak for themselves. Customs and Border Protection reported a record low number of encounters in November. Fewer than 250 people per day are being apprehended. Compare that to the Biden administration, where law enforcement was catching more than 5,000 per day on average. And in November, for the 7th month in a row, 0 illegal immigrants have been released into the United States. So under the Trump administration, we have a 95% drop in apprehensions at the southern border. And not a single one of the individuals apprehended is being released into the country. Mr. President, this is remarkable, remarkable progress. This is what the American people expect when it comes to securing our borders. And Republicans are doing everything we can to ensure that this will be the new standard for border security for a long time to come. Our One Big Beautiful Bill, which we passed in July, makes a generational investment in the resources that law enforcement needs to secure the border and deter illegal immigration. We funded completion of the border wall, new technology and equipment for law enforcement, additional Border Patrol agents, expanded detention capacity, and expanded partnerships with local law enforcement to enforce immigration law. Mr. President, these investments are beginning to be implemented across the immigration system. Hiring efforts are underway to bring on additional agents. More than 1,000 state and local law enforcement agencies have partnered with the federal government to enforce immigration laws through the 287G program. And the Department of Homeland Security is awarding contracts for new technologies in wall construction at the southern border. Investments that will improve law enforcement's ability to apprehend the illegal immigrants and smugglers who attempt to cross our southern border. Mr. President, Republicans promised to secure the border. We wasted no time in delivering on that promise. And thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill, the American people can be certain that border security is here to stay. I'm grateful to the men and women on the front lines who come to work every day committed to a safer and a more secure America. And Republicans will continue to work to ensure that they have everything they need to get the job done. Mr. President, I yield the floor. I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks. Mr. President,
The Minority Leader.
I ask unanimous consent the quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Mr. President, today, Donald Trump will travel to Pennsylvania and try to convince the American people that he's lowering their costs. But the American people, seeing their costs go up left and right, aren't going to buy it. Tonight, Donald Trump will throw a barrel of hay into the audience and tell them it's spun gold. But the American people know he's lying, because everywhere they look, prices are going up and up and up. We've all read how the White House very soon will start getting, quote, serious about messaging more on affordability. They don't get it. The problem is that affordability is not a messaging issue, it's real. It's real when people go to the supermarket or buy a car or try to buy a house or see their electric bills, their health care bills. The American people know it's real, and Donald Trump tries to wish it away. He believes that people will believe his words when he says it's a hoax. They won't. They won't. There aren't enough speeches in the world to paper over the fact that Donald Trump has sent costs up and up, not down. His tariffs raised the price of groceries, raised the price of clothing, raised the price of energy. And it's not just his tariffs. It's his policies that cut out the cheapest form of energy we have, clean energy. It's his policies that allow food producers to get away with monopoly pricing. It's his strategy to impose tariffs on the American people and say it's good for you. The fact is, Donald Trump can do nothing to erase this, that life is more expensive under Donald Trump than it was before he took office. He'll hate to admit it, but life is more expensive under Donald Trump than it was under Joe Biden. Just 36% of the Americans approve of his job and the job he's doing on the economy. 36% of Americans, that's it, approve the job Trump is doing on the economy, according to a poll by Marquette University, which is widely respected. Even a significant portion of Trump voters, 37%, say the cost of living is the worst they can ever remember, according to Politico. So when Trump voters say it was better under Biden than it is now, whoa, something's wrong. So no, Donald Trump, affordability is not a hoax. It's not a Democratic scam. You try to make everything, even the most common sense things, partisan. The affordability crisis is very real. It's being felt by everyone, and the American people know it's Donald Trump's fault. No speech in Pennsylvania or anywhere else can undo that. But I have good news for the president. He and the Republicans do have one chance left to do something meaningful about lowering costs, something real, not a speech, something real. And that is to work with Democrats to extend the enhanced ACA premium tax credits before they expire at the end of the year. Democrats have put forth a simple proposal for a clean 3-year extension of the ACA credits. We will move forward on this bill on Thursday. Senate Republicans have 2 days to choose to vote to lower the American people's health care costs or to vote to continue sending those costs through the roof. That's what's at stake on this vote. If our bill becomes law, it will accomplish the single most important thing we can do right now to lower prices, prevent premiums from tens of millions of Americans from shooting through the roof. We have an obligation to act now. Now, if Republicans are left to their own devices, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that they fix this health care crisis on their own. Republicans are nowhere, by their own admission. Leader Thune has come down to the floor day after day, excoriating the ACA. He brings a lot of charts. He has quotes at the ready, on and on and on. But he doesn't have a plan. He has no proposal. Charts are not a plan, Leader Thune. It's not enough for Republicans to say that they don't like the ACA. That's not a secret. We know that. They've been trying to get rid of it since 2008. They nearly succeeded until the courage of John McCain stopped them in 2019. The real question is, what will Republicans do to prevent premiums from skyrocketing in 3 weeks? And so far, we've heard no real answer. The only ideas we've heard from Republicans are loaded with poison pills, unworkable restrictions, and don't do anything to bring premiums down, which is most important. None of their proposals address extending the ACA credits, the most important thing we can do now. And so it's not, those kind of proposals don't get the American people's support or Democrats' support. The party is adrift at sea. The Republican Party is adrift at sea, trying to find a plan, and so far we've heard no serious plan at all. And that's not just me saying it. Here's what a Republican senator said yesterday. He said, I mean, what signal will it send to if Republicans say we're going to say no to the Democrats' plan, but we're not going to offer anything? The message that will send is good luck to the American people. We don't really care, unquote. That's from a Republican senator. I couldn't have said it better myself. So Republicans should join us on Thursday, vote yes on our proposal, extend the ACA tax credits by 3 years, and greatly reduce the specter of premiums going up and up and up. On chips, this one's an amazing one. Donald Trump is just selling out America for his own ego and his own gain. That's what he's doing on chips. When yesterday, Donald Trump announced he was giving the green light to NVIDIA to send even more powerful AI chips to China, the H200, which are used to train AI models. Let's be clear. You can't claim to be tough on China if you willingly sell them some of the most advanced chips in the world so they can use it to strengthen their military. People on both sides of the aisle are aghast that Trump would do this. Does he think it through? Does he care about what will happen tomorrow or just his little announcement today? Donald Trump's announcement selling these chips to China is dangerous. They'll use them to strengthen their military, their technological edge, all at the expense of American and world national security. Even Donald Trump's own Department of Justice warned about the dangers of these chips making their way to China. Here's what they said, DOD, Department of Justice, DOJ, when they acted against a chip smuggling operation yesterday. Quote, this is Trump's Justice Department. Quote, they said, these chips are the building blocks of AI superiority and are integral to modern military applications. The country that controls these chips will control AI technology. The country that controls AI technology will control the future. Donald Trump, you're letting China control our future. You're selling us out. All so you can have a little one-day ego gain of making some kind of announcement, which no one's going to believe anyway. Donald Trump should listen to his own DOJ about the danger of giving China these chips before cutting stupid deals that cost America dearly in the years to come. But unfortunately, this is textbook Donald Trump. He is so desperate to get a deal with President Xi so he can get that photo op that he will sell out America's long-term security for a short-term political gain. This sellout is not only going to hurt us, it's going to hurt our children and our grandchildren as China begins to dominate the world in AI. And then he comes up with this tawdry deal where he says, NVIDIA makes money and the US makes money. The short-term gain of dollars from selling these chips is so much outweighed by the danger when China takes the lead on AI using the chips that were made in America and sold to them by Donald Trump. So I ask one question. Where's the outrage from my Republican colleagues? Are they just going to sit by while Donald Trump sells America out to Xi Jinping? That's what's going on here. The chips deal is terrible. It will cost our national security dearly, and the president must reverse course before it's too late. On the NDAA and Hegseth, well, today, as has already been widely reported, Secretary Hegseth and top administration officials will hold a classified briefing for the Gang of Eight. At the Gang of Eight hearing, I will ask Secretary Hegseth directly, will he commit to providing all senators access to the unedited tapes of the September 2nd boat strike. Again, Hegseth, will you commit, with no BS, to providing all senators with access to the unedited tapes of the September 2nd boat strike? Because the longer the White House and the Pentagon hold on to the tapes, the more the American people are wondering, what are Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth trying to cover up? Are they lying to the American people, or are they just trying to hide their incompetence? No one in the administration can seem to get its story straight. Last week, Donald Trump said he'd have, quote, no problem releasing the full video of the strike. Then yesterday, he walked back his statement, claiming he never said it and it was fake ABC News. You know, Donald Trump says something, doesn't like what he said, he made a mistake, and then he says it's fake news. But he said it, and the American people heard it, and it's on tape. And then he blames one of the networks for simply broadcasting what he said. What is going on in this country, and how do we let this man do what he does, destroying our values, our morals, of the fact that America has always been an honest country? So let me be clear. The only thing that can bring more clarity to the American people is the full release of the unedited tapes. Plain and simple. Republicans and Democrats in Congress agree. That's why there's a provision in the most recent version of the NDA that demands a release of the unedited tapes to Congress. And if the Pentagon fails to hand over those tapes, Pete Hegseth's travel budget will be slashed by 25% until he complies. That was a bipartisan shot across the bow to Donald Trump, hand over the tapes, done by Republicans. I salute them for their courage in bucking him and bucking Hegseth. The inclusion of this NDA, a provision restricting travel, shows Congress is united in wanting to see these tapes as soon as possible. And both Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth must comply, say the Republican senators, or the DOD is penalized. I strongly support this provision and worked with Senator Reid, Senator Wicker, and others to keep it in. I hope it will compel Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth to do the right thing, release the tapes, give the American people the transparency we all deserve. Yield the floor.
Mr. President.
Majority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, as I was coming to the floor today, I heard the Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, talking about wanting to send more government checks to insurance companies. That's what he said he wants to do. He's going to have a vote on it later this week. Wants to extend for 3 more years the checks that the Democrats say we ought to send to insurance company. I just disagree with him. Look, when it comes to health care, the American people deserve to have the care that they need from a doctor that they choose at lower cost, at a cost they can afford. Obamacare has done just the opposite. And today, Obamacare is collapsing under its own weight. So what are the Democrats trying to do? They're trying to prop it up with an additional $83 billion handed directly from the federal government to insurance companies. They want to send $83 billion directly from the Treasury into the bank accounts of the very profitable insurance companies that have been made more profitable under Obamacare. Democrats want to use your money to cover up for their failures. That's what's happening here. So this week, the Senate's going to vote on the Democrat plan to extend these Biden COVID bonuses for 3 more years with absolutely no reforms to a failing Obamacare program. No reforms, not one. What have we seen with the program so far that they've had? It's caused waste, fraud, corruption. Rich people get subsidies, insurance companies get rich. They all like it. That's why the Democrats are for it. Look, I practiced medicine in Wyoming for 24 years as an orthopedic surgeon. I was doing that before serving here now in the United States Senate. And I can tell you that these Biden COVID bonuses are a bad prescription because the side effects are so harmful. Widespread fraud and corruption, direct payments to line the pockets of big insurance companies, taxpayer-subsidized health care for millionaires. That's right, millionaires. You can earn $1 million a year and still get subsidized handsomely by what the Democrats are proposing and they're bringing to the floor to be voted on this week. That is the solution the Democrats have. Throw more government money at a problem that's caused the problem in the first place. And the people of my home state of Wyoming cannot continue to afford this endless drain that is Obamacare. So, Mr. President, the Democrats saw that Obamacare was failing. They saw the costs were getting high. They're trying to prop it up. They're trying to hide the failures. And in 2021, they used their narrow partisan majority to try to prop it up even more with the Biden COVID bonuses. Now, those are on top of all the other subsidies that the Democrats were sending, voted for it. Remember, these are new subsidies on top of the already generous subsidies. And now they're for everybody. No matter how much money you make, you qualify for these subsidies. This was initially designed to go for people that needed it, people that couldn't help themselves. But now, sky's the limit. What does that happen? Oh, and by the way, the Democrats said these will only be temporary. Don't worry, this is just because of COVID. But the following year, what did the Democrats do? They said, well, Obamacare is not in pretty good shape. We need to keep these going. This extra layer of subsidies, keep them going. They set the deadline date for coming up at the end of this month. Again, not a single Republican voted for it. Not one. Now, what did Chuck Schumer say today? He wants to extend them for another 3 years. $83 billion. So calling these Biden COVID bonuses temporary was just another way for them to cover up the damage that Obamacare is doing to the country. Well, they're doing it for one reason, because Obamacare is unaffordable. It is a failure. Premiums have risen over 220% since Obamacare became law. Well, what did Obama say? They said, oh, premiums are going to go down by $2,500 a year for a family. I think that was called the lie of the year by the press who evaluated those things. Even the deductibles have doubled. Look, sending another $83 billion to insurance companies is not going to fix the failures of Obamacare. And when you create direct payments to insurance companies that are this vast, no guardrails, predictable things will happen. Number one is, of course, the price of insurance will go up because there's more government money coming to it. And number two, fraud runs wild. That's right, absolute fraud. So the Government Accountability Office recently released a report that confirms it. In 2024 and 2025, the Government Accountability Office did something very revealing. They tried to figure out how easy it was to sign up for Obamacare using fake information. Would fraudsters be caught if they submitted fake information under Obamacare? And in fact, the GAO submitted 24 fake applications. It was intentional. They submitted them to the Obamacare exchanges to see if, under the Democrats' program, if these would actually be detected as fraudulent, or if money would just flow from the federal government to those who submitted all these false papers. Would they get approved by the government? Or was there anything out there that would stop them? Well, 23 of the 24 fake applications were approved to qualify for Obamacare subsidies. Money's going to go, fake applications, incompetent federal government. That's what the American people see. So the GAO dug deeper. And they found, when they checked Social Security numbers, that a single Social Security number was used for enrolling 125 different Obamacare policies, all of which qualified for subsidies. Yeah, those Democrats love sending the money out. That's the thing they do. GAO also found that 58,000 Social Security numbers matched death records were also receiving subsidies. There they go. That's the way the Democrats roll. Democrats want to continue paying Obamacare bonuses directly to insurance companies for signing up people with Social Security numbers of people that are dead. Let's be very clear. The money from the Biden COVID bonuses, it's never actually seen by the American people. It goes right from the Department of Treasury, mainlined to the insurance companies. Insurance companies have recorded record profits. Their stocks are up 500 to 1,000% since Obamacare became law. Democrats created a system where insurance companies' profits are higher, and they go higher and higher the higher the premium rise. So it's in their best interest to continue to raise premiums. And as long as the Democrats are willing to subsidize all of that, that's what you're going to continue to get. A drain on the federal treasury, taxpayers being taken advantage of, insurance companies getting rich, and Democrats saying everything is fine when it is not. There are no cost controls. There are no incentives to compete on the insurance companies. Competition in healthcare basically collapsed in terms of the insurance markets. In many rural counties, Mr. President, in your state and in mine, there may be only one choice. It's a monopoly. That's what we're finding across Wyoming. Many families have only one choice for health insurance. Take it or leave it. It's a monopoly. Charge what they want. Insurance companies, if they have to compete to offer people what they want to buy, people have the money to make their own decisions. That's going to bring down costs. It's going to provide more choices. Democrats get their way. Premiums are going to keep going up. Insurance companies are going to continue to collect big checks from taxpayers directly into their bank accounts. And there'll be no reforms to stop the fraud. And there's plenty of fraud. The Government Accountability Office has found it. It's been headlined in papers, including the Washington Post this morning. And yet the Democrats come to the floor and say, nope, $83 billion right out the door, right to the insurance companies. And that's their solution for a failed Obamacare health care. Look, we need to empower families to make their own decisions. People get it at home that Obamacare has failed the American taxpayers. People know they want the care that they need from a doctor they choose at a price they can afford. They're not going to get that with Obamacare. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Mr. President,
Senator from Oregon.
I ask unanimous consent to grant floor privileges to my intern, Jeremy Zwick, for his shadow day on December 10th, 2025.
Without objection.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Majority Whip.
I ask unanimous consent to waive the mandatory quorum clause with respect to the Crane and Maxwell nominations.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Senator of New Jersey.
Mr. President, a year ago, my two little boys sat right up there in the gallery above as I raised my right hand here on the floor. It was a moment unlike any other moment I've ever had in my life. My dear colleagues, I hope it's never lost upon us that we get to work a job whose job description is written in the Constitution of the United States. What a deeply humbling experience, one we should treasure every chance we get. Never in my life have I felt the call to serve so strongly and viscerally as I do right now. I believe we are in a moment of extraordinary consequence and magnitude, that the next 5 years will shape the next 5 decades. There is nowhere else I'd rather be than to be able to have a voice in this room and a vote in this chamber of monumental decisions that will shape our nation's future through tumultuous times. But there's a bittersweet taste now, a year later, as I look back upon the day that I was sworn in. By my children's side, as they watched me a year ago, were my parents, both born during the Korean War, born into poverty and struggled to survive. Both saw America as a place where they could achieve the closest thing that they could get to a guarantee that the family that they raised would have a better life than they did. It was actually predecessors in this room that passed the immigration reform that allowed my parents to come here. Had it not been for those decisions made here, our family story would have no choice and no chance in America. And the decisions we are making now are shaping families for generations to come. I am in awe of what this nation has afforded my family in just one generation. But now I think through an episode that happened a few weeks ago. I was with my father at the doctor's office, and the doctor asked my father, "Tell me about your son. Tell me what he does for a living," as I was seated right next to him. My father fell silent. He turned to me and looked with embarrassed eyes and said, "I don't know." My father no longer remembers being in this chamber a year ago. He no longer remembers that momentous day I had hoped that our family would never forget. He no longer remembers that his hard journey from the Korean War to immigrating to America that led to his son being sworn in as the very first Korean American senator ever. And it got worse. The next question the doctor asked him was, "What job did you have? What was your life's work?" And my father stared at the ground and paused and said the same 3 words. "I don't know." 3 words that I'm sure I will hear a lot more of from him, because that was the day that my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Now, what made this all the more painful is that the answer to the doctor's question, what did my father do for his career? The answer is that my father was a geneticist, a medical researcher who spent his life trying to cure cancer and Alzheimer's. And now, as I was there witnessing Alzheimer's erase from my father's memory any recollection of his efforts to try to erase Alzheimer's from our world, I couldn't help but feel that Alzheimer's had won. I remember dropping him off after the appointment and sitting in the car alone, left to grapple with our new future, realizing for the first time that to my list of core identities, as a son, as a brother, a husband, a father, an American, a public servant, I now add caregiver. But with all of these other identities that I've assumed, I've embraced them. They've brought me joy and opportunity. They brought me my partner for life. They brought me the most precious boys I could ever imagine. But this new identity as a caregiver felt like it brought my family certain pain. The doctor warned me that the next year or 2 of my life would be hell. I remember having to rush back to the Capitol for votes after that doctor's appointment. And I was actually standing in this very spot when one of you came to me and started telling me about a bill that you wanted me to look at. And I remember politely saying, "I'm sorry, but I'm barely keeping it together right now." My father's not well. Can we please talk about this tomorrow? And instead of walking away, my colleague stayed with me, showed me comfort, opened about their own struggles and challenges in their family. And I responded by sharing my growing fears about the uncertainty that lay ahead, that I would be forced to seek not the best care that my father could get, but instead the best care for my father that my family could afford. And suddenly I felt inadequate as a son, and I panicked. I couldn't help but play back the last few years, and I beat myself up that I didn't see this coming. Was there something I could have done to better prepare for this moment? I should have seen the warning signs and took the precautions to provide better care for my father and my family. And I fixated on a singular question: why is it so hard to provide care in this country? And from that question comes others. Why is providing care so insanely complicated? Why does it feel like we are so alone when we try to provide care to the people we love? And for many, the disease or injury is only part of the problem. We are the richest, most powerful country in the world. Why does it cost so much to provide care? The answers explain my anxiety. The median cost for a private room in a senior care facility in New Jersey is $14,788 per month. That's over $177,000 per year. That is outrageous. It should be unacceptable. Who can afford that? I'll tell you, I can't. I look at the costs and I look at our finances, and the costs of caregiving have been catastrophic for my family this year. But this is the reality for millions of Americans. And so many countless families are in much more dire circumstances than mine. They tell me how they are basically having to bankrupt themselves. A neighbor told me how she had to sell her forever home that they had hoped to grow old in just to pay her husband's bills for his dementia care. This is the storm after the storm, a storm of our own making. And out of this strain and stress, we feel alone. It shouldn't have to be this hard. And on top of this, I feel overwhelmed by a nagging feeling that my new identity as a caregiver is in direct competition with my other identities, that it diminishes and drains what I can provide to my kids as their father and to others that I love. I can't save for their education like I had planned to. I think of all the costs that we have endured over the years, daycare, healthcare, all the other experiences that I want to provide my kids that I might no longer be able to. And even if you can afford this, what an anxiety-filled time it is to be raising kids. You can try to keep them off their phones or social media, but it dominates the conversations they have with their friends. You can try to give them the best education, but you look at the future where AI dominates and you worry if they will be able to find a job that provides them the stability and security you want for them. And I see a world around us, the wars and the divisiveness. It's so much at times it feels hard to breathe. And I ask myself a question: what kind of America are my two boys, your kids and your grandkids, going to grow up in? Regardless of the political parties to which we belong, I think we can all agree that a nation this powerful and this extraordinary should not be mired in this level of division. My boys are now 8 and 10. That gives me about 15 years before they're off on their own. And I know actually many of you have told me that it will be much longer than that because they'll probably move back into my basement after college. But that's my timeline. I got about 15 years to try and fix this. So that is why I'm here. That is why I take a seat in the U.S. Senate. I'm a father willing to do everything I humanly can to try to fix this country for my kids and my family. But I'm worried. I'm worried because we stand here in this chamber under this ubiquitous phrase, e pluribus unum, out of many one, centered in the most prominent position in this room. It is the same motto that perches over the Capitol Rotunda, the House chamber, the Oval Office. But I ask you, Does it ring true, especially in this divided moment? It often feels that it's more like out of many, many, e pluribus multis. But I still believe in that phrase. I still believe in e pluribus unum. It's a beautiful and telling phrase. But as I've been thinking about it, I realized that there's something missing. How does many turn into one? The phrase, it's missing the verb. How do we actually get from many to one? It doesn't just happen on its own. Now, being the nerd that I am, I dug around and I tracked down the origin of the phrase back to Cicero at the dawn of republics. And I found the missing verb. He says, when each person loves the other as much as himself, it makes one out of many. The missing verb is to love. But how do we express that to each other, not just here in this chamber, but across this great land? Another way to think about it is when we care for one another as we would care for ourselves. Care is how we manifest love of nation, love of each other. And it is this realization that I have come to. E pluribus unum requires love and care. How we become one out of many is to become caregivers to one another. That we here in this chamber are to be caregivers to this nation, a nation that right now needs healing, a nation whose future is uncertain and unsteady. My role as a caregiver has taken on new meaning. The care with which I transfer my father to his wheelchair and wash his disabled body is but an example of the care with which we must handle a nation in fragile times. And in my new role, I've learned that care must flow in all directions, not just towards those that we feel affinity to. I've not shared this publicly before, but my father and I have had a difficult relationship over our lives. We've gone through tough times of division and separation. And I'd be lying to you if I told you that being a caregiver to him is easy and flows naturally from a boundless love. It's hard to provide care if it doesn't always feel reciprocal. And there are times that I feel guilty when I feel trapped. But for all the faults that he and I embody, it doesn't diminish responsibility. And I will give him a good and decent life as best that I can provide. I will bring that same sense of responsibility right here into this chamber with a nation divided. I believe that one can and should care for one another, even in the face of division and disagreement. Just as caregivers have a responsibility to those in their care, we as senators, as Americans, have a responsibility to one another, as community members, as people. And here in the Senate, it's where we should exemplify this action of care. I have seen glimpses of what the Senate can be, this sacred ground that we get the honor to embody. It's not just a place of heated debate and consequential votes. It can be a place of care. It must be a place of care, not just for those of us in this chamber, but for the nation. The care you have shown me, from the ears with which you have listened to my telling of my troubles, let us pour that out of these doors and give it towards the 7 million Americans afflicted with Alzheimer's, the tens of millions more who are families struggling with the struggles of their loved ones. Let our care pour out to the tens of millions of parents who struggle to give their kids the kind of life they want. Let us build a caregiver movement to care for our family and also our nation. Today, in this maiden speech, I make a promise to the people of New Jersey and the people of this country that for as long as I have to serve here, I will do everything I can to give you the care you deserve. I will care for your parents and grandparents as hard as I will for mine. I will care for your kids and grandkids as much as I care for mine. I will not be perfect, and I will stumble at times. But I've learned as a caregiver, I have no other choice but to endure. Whether it's the emergency calls in the middle of the night or the drop everything moments where I have to rush to the hospital, there is no alternative. As a caregiver, we are the backstop. We here in this chamber need to be that for the ailing nation. We are the backstop. And there are times where it will be, to again quote my father's doctor, hell, not just for my family, but for our country. But there is no greater cause than care. No bigger responsibility exists than the one we have to the people we love, and that extends to the nation that we love. And there's no larger obligation that we have as senators, as Americans, to make it easier to look after each other. This is my maiden speech. And one day I will stand here again to give my farewell speech. And the duration between these two speeches will, I hope, not be measured in years, but instead by the problems I sought to tackle and solve. That in between these speeches, I hope we meet the urgency and lead our nation forward with strategy and purpose. I've often said that we work in what's arguably the most reactionary building in America, reacting to the headlines, the social posts. But it doesn't have to be this way. Instead, we can be a Senate that sets out real goals and builds the strategy to meet them. Where do we want our nation to be in 10, 20, 30 years from now? I want to be a part of that Senate, a Senate unafraid to pursue big ideas. I hope in my future farewell speech, I can say that I was part of the Senate that finally delivered universal health care for our nation. A Senate that found a way to provide child care to every family and long-term care for every senior in need. A Senate that catalyzed innovation that led to prevent and cure Alzheimer's and other wretched diseases. A Senate that finally gave care to our caregivers who for so long have felt invisible and taken for granted. A Senate that stood up against corruption and restored trust of the American people back into our democracy and governance. A Senate that helped restore American global leadership, which shaped a world where peace and prosperity fosters freedom and innovation for everyone. And a Senate that created the kind of America where I can ease my anxiety as a parent as I watch my boys become men. Colleagues, I ask for your help here because I cannot do this alone. None of us have this power alone. And the nation is looking to us right now to right the ship and give a vision that we can be proud of. To my staff, I promise you that this will be a noble journey you will be proud to be a part of. I know this will be hard and could very well fall short of our lofty goals. But I want no regret in my time here in this sacred chamber, that I can say I did everything I could, that I have no regrets about the time I spent here, being a caregiver to our great nation, to make one out of many. I'm ready. Let's get to work. And with that, I'll yield back.
Senator of New Jersey.
As my colleagues are understandably greeting my colleague, I just wanted to take a moment and take the floor to express my deep admiration for a man that I've known for decades. I first met Andy Kim when he was a college student, and I was interviewing him for a Rhodes Scholarship. I was part of this panel of people who had to interview some of the best people from the state of New Jersey for this vaunted scholarship. And I will tell you right now, when Andy Kim walked in that room, he blew away every one of the interviewers. I like to brag around New Jersey now that while now hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people have voted for Andy Kim, I was perhaps the first person to do so. What I saw in a young college student decades ago has only blossomed so much more as he has gone from a young man to a United States Senator. We throw around the word patriotism a lot, and it's often used in a way to brandish pride or, at its worst, as a way to condemn others. But the truth of patriotism was in the language we heard today. It is in the language of love, the fact that you cannot love your country unless you love your fellow countrymen and women. I am excited that New Jersey has a senator of unassailable brilliance, but what makes him special is not simply his extraordinary head, but the profound depths of his heart. New Jersey is a state that often I call the Rodney Dangerfield state, where we get no respect, but the truth of the matter is New Jersey has a representative that in this body that's known for partisanship, he's a person that is seen by colleagues on both sides of the aisle as someone that has a soul force, someone who has a heart, someone who is determined to be the kind of patriot this nation needs. I would be remiss in not mentioning this. I love the fact that we have this body that represents so many American traditions, so many streams of lived experiences that make this a great representation of our nation. But the truth is, we are still seeing so many firsts in this body. One first we should recognize is the one that Andy Kim exemplifies. He is the first Korean American to serve in this body at a time that Korean Americans have made contributions, from the academics to the sciences, innovators, business people, farmers. But this is the first time the United States of America has seen a Korean American, the son of immigrants, stand in this body. I will tell you this, not just because of his heritage, not just because of the uniqueness of his presence on this floor, but because of the depth of his humanity. His demonstration today of the urgency that we stand up and allow people to see our vulnerability, see our frailty. In fact, in many ways, Andy Kim has shown that often the greatest courage is found in the depths of our frailty, our vulnerability, and our candor and honesty with our own struggles. I am a man of great physical stature relative to my smaller senator. But I hope everybody in America knows this. I may have a greater physical stature, but since I met him as a college student, I look up to my friend and my brother, a giant of a human, Andy Kim. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Senator from Mississippi.
Mr. President, I also rise to commend my new colleague of less than a year on his maiden speech. And I rise as the senior most Republican on the floor at this time to congratulate him on behalf of my colleagues on the Republican side. Andy Kim is going to cast votes that will be considered way further to the left than those that I will cast. There'll be ratings that will rate him 100% and probably get me a 0. And on the conservative ratings, it will be close to close to the same in the other direction. But having watched him, having listened to him, having attended Senate prayer breakfasts with Andy Kim over the past few months, I know that he's someone whose heart is good and who will work with every senator and every member of the House to advance this nation. I'm glad that Senator Andy Kim mentioned e pluribus unum. And I've learned a history lesson. I had never gone back to Cicero, but I found it interesting that Senator Kim went back and found that the verb there that allowed many to become one was love in the view of Cicero. And it reminded me of perhaps a passage that he and I might have heard or read from the New Testament in some of our prayer breakfasts. And that is when Jesus of Nazareth was asked by the experts, what was the greatest commandment? And Jesus answered, you should love your God with all your heart and soul and might. This is the first and great commandment, but the second is like unto it. The second greatest commandment is just like it, and that's love your neighbor. And what that means to me, as someone who's been a Christian since my early days in grade school, is that in order to show that you actually love God, you must love your neighbor. And so I appreciate what we've learned from the New Testament and Cicero, which brings us to the great importance of working toward a more perfect union. We'll never have a perfect union in this world, but out of many, we can become one, and it's the kind of rhetoric and the kind of leadership that we've heard from our young colleague today that makes me more and more optimistic about that. And so I commend my friend and my colleague and I look forward to working with him in the coming years. And I yield. Mr. President,
Senator from Mississippi.
after consulting with both sides of the aisle, I ask unanimous consent that the previously scheduled roll call votes commence immediately.
Without objection. Question occurs on the nomination. Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks, Ms. Baldwin, Mr. Banks, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Blackburn, Mr. Blumenthal, Ms. Blunt Rochester, Mr. Booker. Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Britt, Mr. Budd, Ms. Cantwell, Mrs. Capito, Mr. Cassidy, Ms. Collins, Mr. Coons, Mr. Cornyn, Ms. Cortez Masto, Mr. Cotton, Mr. Kramer, Mr. Crapo, Mr. Cruz, Mr. Curtis, Mr. Daines, Ms. Duckworth, Mr. Durbin, Ms. Ernst, Mr. Fetterman, Mrs. Fisher, Mr. Gallego, Mrs. Gillibrand, Mr. Graham, Mr. Graham, Mr. Grassley, Mr. Haggerty, Ms. Hassan, Mr. Hawley, Mr. Heinrich, Mr. Hickenlooper, Ms. Hirono, Mr. Hoven, Mr. Husted, Mrs. Hyde-Smith, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Justice, Mr. Kane, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Kim, Mr. King, Ms. Klobuchar, Mr. Langford, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lujan, Ms. Lemus, Mr. Markey, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McConnell, Mr. McCormick, Mr. Merkley, Mrs. Moody, Mr. Moran, Mr. Marino, Mr. Mullen, Ms. Murkowski, Mr. Murphy, Mrs. Murray, Mr. Ossoff, Mr. Padilla, Mr. Paul, Mr. Peters, Mr. Reed, Mr. Ricketts, Mr. Risch, Ms. Rosen, Mr. Rounds, Mr. Sanders, Mr. Schatz, Mr. Schiff, Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Schumer, Mr. Scott of Florida, Mr. Scott of South Carolina, Mrs. Shaheen, Mr. Sheehy, Ms. Slotkin, Ms. Smith, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Thune, Mr. Tillis, Mr. Tuberville, Mr. Van Hollen, Mr. Warner, Mr. Warnock, Ms. Warren, Mr. Welch, Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden, Mr. Young, Senators voting in the affirmative: Crapo, Ernst, Marshall, Marino, Sheehy, and Wicker. Senators voting in the negative: Blunt Rochester, Booker, Coons, Durbin, Hassan, Heinrich, Hirono, Kim, Padilla, Rosen, Smith, Warren, and Welch. Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott of South Carolina, aye. Mr. Mullen. Mr. Mullen, aye. Mr. Merkley. Mr. Merkley, no. Ms. Murkowski. Ms. Murkowski, aye. Mr. Cornyn. Mr. Cornyn, aye. Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed, no. Mr. Banks. Mr. Banks, aye. Mr. Wyden. Mr. Wyden, no. Mr. Markey. Mr. Markey, no. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, aye. Ms. Slotkin. Ms. Slotkin, no. Ms. Cantwell. Ms. Cantwell, no. Mr. Schatz. Mr. Schatz, no. Mr. Lujan. Mr. Lujan, no. Mr. Schmidt. Mr. Schmidt, aye. Mr. McConnell. Mr. McConnell, aye. Mrs. Gillibrand. Mrs. Gillibrand, no. Mrs. Blackburn. Mrs. Blackburn, aye. Ms. Baldwin. Ms. Baldwin, no. Mr. Rish. Mr. Rish, aye. Mr. Curtis. Mr. Curtis, aye. Ms. Alsobrooks. Ms. Alsobrooks, no. Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy, aye. Mr. Kane, no. Mr. Hickenlooper, Mr. Hickenlooper, no. Ms. Collins, Ms. Collins, aye. Mrs. Moody, aye. Mr. Rounds, aye. Mr. Husted, aye. Mr. Scott of Florida, aye. Ms. Cortez Masto, Ms. Cortez Masto, no. Mrs. Hyde-Smith, Mrs. Hyde-Smith, aye. Mr. Warnock, Mr. Warnock, no. Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee, aye. Mr. Langford. Mr. Langford. Aye. Mr. Ossoff. Mr. Ossoff. No. Mr. Thune. Mr. Thune. Aye. Mr. McCormick. Mr. McCormick. Aye. Mr. Blumenthal. Mr. Blumenthal. No. Mr. Peters. Mr. Peters. No. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Schumer. No. Mr. Van Hollen. Mr. Van Hollen. No. Ms. Klobuchar. Ms. Klobuchar. No. Ms. Lummis. Ms. Lummis. Aye. Mr. Gallego. Mr. Gallego. No. Mr. Cassidy. Mr. Cassidy. Aye.
It wouldn't be.
Mr. Murphy. Mr. Murphy. No. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Whitehouse. No. Mr. King. Mr. King. No. Mr. Haggerty. Mr. Haggerty. Aye. Mr. Moran. Mr. Moran. Aye. Mr. Ricketts. Mr. Ricketts. Aye. Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul. Aye. Mr. Warner. Mr. Warner. No. Mr. Cotton. Mr. Cotton. Aye. Mr. Bozeman. Mr. Bozeman. Aye. Mr. Kramer. Mr. Kramer, aye. Mr. Graham. Mr. Graham, aye. Mr. Barrasso. Mr. Barrasso, aye. Mr. Young. Mr. Young, aye. Mrs. Britt. Mrs. Britt, aye. Mr. Fetterman. Mr. Fetterman, no. Mrs. Murray. Mrs. Murray, no. Mr. Hawley. Mr. Hawley, aye. Mr. Hoven. Mr. Hoven, aye. Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan, aye. Mr. Sanders. Mr. Sanders, no. Mr. Grassley. Mr. Grassley, aye. Mr. Budd. Mr. Budd, aye. Mr. Schiff. Mr. Schiff, no. Mr. Daines. Mr. Daines, aye. Mr. Shaheen. Mr. Shaheen, no. Mrs. Fisher. Mrs. Fisher, aye. Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett, no. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly, no. Mr. Tillis. Mr. Tillis, aye. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Cruz, aye. Mr. Tuberville. Mr. Tuberville, aye.
Okay.
And then read that.
Close it up.
On this vote, the yeas are 51 and the nays are 46. The nomination is confirmed. Under the previous order, the motion to reconsider is considered made and laid upon the table, and the president will be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Mr. President.
Majority Whip.
Mr. President, I have 4 requests for committees to meet during today's session of the Senate. They have the approval of both the majority and the minority leaders.
Duly noted. The clerk will report the motion to vote cloture.
Cloture motion, we, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a close debate on the nomination of William J. Crane of Louisiana to be United States District Judge for the Eastern District of Louisiana, signed by 17 senators.
Under the previous order, the mandatory quorum call under Rule 22 has been waived. The question is it the sense of the Senate that debate on the nomination of William J. Crane of Louisiana to be United States District Judge for the Eastern District of Louisiana shall be brought to a close? The yeas and nays are mandatory under the rule. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks, Ms. Baldwin, Mr. Banks, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Bennett. Thanks. Thank you. Gotcha. Mrs. Blackburn. Mr. Blumenthal.
No, the whole thing was cool. I mean, that's what you joined this place.
Ms. Blunt Rochester.
Okay.
Mr. Booker.
Sullivan, aye.
Mr. Bozeman. Mrs. Britt. Mr. Budd. Ms. Cantwell. Mrs. Capito. Mr. Cassidy. Ms. Collins. Mr. Coons. Mr. Cornyn. Ms. Cortez Masto. Mr. Cotton. Mr. Kramer. Mr. Crapo. Mr. Cruz, Mr. Curtis, Mr. Daines, Ms. Duckworth, Mr. Durbin, Ms. Ernst, Mr. Fetterman, Mrs. Fisher, Mr. Gallego, Mrs. Gillibrand, Mr. Graham, Mr. Grassley, Mr. Haggerty, Ms. Hassan, Mr. Hawley, Mr. Heinrich, Mr. Hickenlooper, Ms. Hirono, Mr. Hoven, Mr. Husted, Mrs. Hyde-Smith, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Justice. Thank you. Mr. Kane. Oops. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kim. Mr. King. Thanks. Ms. Klobuchar. Thank you. Mr. Langford. Mr. Lee. Mr. Lujan. Ms. Lummis. Mr. Markey. Mr. Marshall. Mr. McConnell. Mr. McCormick. Mr. Merkley. Mrs. Moody. Mr. Moran. Mr. Marino. Mr. Mullen. Ms. Murkowski. Mr. Murphy. Mrs. Murray. Mr. Ossoff. Mr. Padilla. Mr. Paul. Mr. Peters. Mr. Reed, Mr. Ricketts, Mr. Risch, Ms. Rosen, Mr. Rounds, Mr. Sanders, Mr. Schatz, Mr. Schiff, Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Schumer, Mr. Scott of Florida, Mr. Scott of South Carolina, Mrs. Shaheen, Mr. Sheehy, Ms. Slotkin, Ms. Smith, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Thune, Mr. Tillis, Mr. Tuberville, Mr. Van Hollen, Mr. Warner, Mr. Warnock, Ms. Warren, Mr. Welch, Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden, Mr. Young. Thank you. Senators voting in the affirmative: Barrasso, Cotton, Cruz, Curtis, Daines, Fisher, Graham, Hawley, Hyde-Smith, Kennedy, Moran, Mullen, Paul, Ricketts, Sullivan, Tillis, and Wicker. Senators voting in the negative: Bennett, Fetterman, Gallego, Heinrich, Hirono, Kelly, Murphy, Murray, Reed, Sanders, Warner, and Warren. Mr. King, no. Mr. Marino, aye. Mr. McCormick, aye. Ms. Smith, no. Mr. Coons, no. Mr. Grassley, aye. Mr. Peters, no. Mr. Lujan, no. Mr. Schatz, no. Mr. Durbin, no. Mr. Kim, no. Mr. Blumenthal, no. Mr. Wyden. Mr. Wyden, no. Mr. Young, aye. Mr. Cornyn, aye. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Whitehouse, no. Mr. Merkley, no. Ms. Collins. Ms. Collins, aye. Mr. Sheehy, aye. Ms. Cortez Masto, no. Mr. Marshall, aye. Mr. Husted, aye. Mr. Scott of Florida, aye. Ms. Cantwell, no. Mr. Kramer, aye. Ms. Ernst, aye. Ms. Klobuchar, no. Ms. Slotkin? No. Mr. Welch? No. Mr. Schiff? No. Mr. Langford? Aye. Yeah. You can invite her. It's like a vampire. You can invite her up here to the desk to talk to you. Mr. Scott of South Carolina, aye. Mr. Schmidt, aye. Mr. Tuberville, aye. Mr. Padilla, aye. No, I didn't. But Mrs. Britt, aye. Mr. Padilla, no. Mrs. Blackburn, aye. Baldwin, no. Mr. Ossoff, no. Mr. Crapo, aye. Mr. Banks, aye. Ms. Blunt Rochester, no. Mr. Lee, aye. Mr. Haggerty, aye. Ms. Hassan, no. Mr. Johnson, aye. Mrs. Moody, aye. Ms. Lummis. Ms. Lummis, aye. Mr. Markey, no. Mr. McConnell, aye. Mr. Risch, aye. Mrs. Shaheen, no. Mr. Kane, no. Mr. Bozeman, aye. Ms. Rosen, no. Ms. Alsterbrooks, no. Mr. Cassidy, aye.